Welcome to the channel, the post-human era. Today, we're doing a really monumental deep dive into the work of theoretical physicist and futurist Dr. Michio Kaku.
Right. And Kaku's whole thing is using the laws of physics as a guide to map out where civilization is heading.
Exactly. And we're going to unpack this core paradox he presents across his major works. We're talking physics of the future of the mind, all of them.
And that paradox, it's a tough one. It's that humanity will survive, but it will not lead.
That's the argument. And it's a truth that I think most people really, really resist. I mean, when you talk about the future, the conversation always goes to extinction, right?
Always.
Yeah.
A pandemic, climate change, nuclear war.
But Kaku never goes there. He doesn't predict extinction. He predicts something, I don't know, almost more unsettling.
Irrelevance.
Irrelevance. Humanity becomes optional.
And his logic is pretty clear. Leadership always belonged to intelligence. But that was because intelligence was rare. It was concentrated in a few people.
But now with AI and hyper-efficient computing, intelligence is becoming abundant. It's everywhere.
And when something is everywhere, it's no longer the defining factor for leadership. The power has to shift.
Okay, so let's jump right into that, because this defines the whole post-human era.
Yeah.
If intelligence isn't the bottleneck anymore, where does that authority go?
It shifts, he argues, irrevocably to systems that can scale.
Systems.
Think about it. Humans are emotional. We're messy. We negotiate. We contradict ourselves.
All the time.
But systems, they're built for consistency. They just execute.
Yeah.
Pure, cold calculation. And in a world that demands scale and efficiency, leadership just follows the most consistent execution.
Which means it transfers directly to the systems.
Right.
And this is why, if you look at how things work now, it feels like the old structures are failing. Politics feels powerless.
Authority feels hollow. Influence feels performative.
Because these slow, messy human ways of doing things are already being bypassed by automated systems that are just built for one thing.
Efficiency. And Kaku says future systems don't need a charismatic leader. They don't need a president. They need an architect.
An architect. Someone to do the initial design.
Right. A brilliant designer who sets up the rules, the initial architecture. And once that system is in place, the outcome's just directed. They follow automatically.
Human leadership needs you to believe in a person. It requires faith.
System leadership just requires adoption. And adoption is so much easier than belief. You don't have to believe in your power grid.
You just have to adopt it because it works. You flip the switch, the light comes on.
People trust systems because they just work consistently.
So we don't go extinct. We just get integrated. We become a part of the machine, but we're not driving it anymore.
We're still essential.
Oh.
But as consumers, as operators, maybe as collaborators, as variables in the equation.
But not as the decision centers.
Never as the decision centers.
Yeah.
And Kaku is very clear. This isn't necessarily an oppressive dystopia he's forecasting. It's an optimized society.
So it'll feel more stable?
Much more stable, he thinks. Because these systems are designed to eliminate chaos, to eliminate friction.
And friction is the enemy of scale. But what does that do to our messy human values, like justice, ethics?
Well, that's the trade-off. Stability replaces justice. Optimization replaces ethics.
Whoa.
It's not that ethics disappear. It's just that the debate, the argument, the time it takes to figure out what's ethical, it just slows the system down.
And the system can't be slow.
The system prioritizes the most efficient, predictable outcome for the greatest number. And that means sidelining the unpredictable human element that was, so central to leadership before.
So trying to resist this is basically pointless.
How would you can't lead a revolution against the infrastructure that delivers your water and your internet?
Kaku says you can't argue with an algorithm.
You can't overthrow infrastructure, and you definitely can't shame a system into changing.
There's no villain. There's just a better design.
And for him, it's just inevitability. The people who integrate will survive, and probably quite comfortably. But the people who resist, they'll still be around, but they'll be irrelevant.
So this is the final transition he's talking about. It's not from life to death. It's from control to adaptation.
That's it.
Okay, so let's start this journey at the biggest possible scale. Let's talk about our place in the cosmos using the Kardashev scale. Kaku relies on this so heavily.
Right. The Kardashev scale is the foundation. It was developed by an astrophysicist, Nikolai Kardashev, and it ranks civilizations based on one thing and one thing only.
Not morality, not art.
Just energy. Purely their mastery of energy consumption. So a Type 1 civilization can harness all the energy of its home planet.
All of it. Earthquakes, volcanoes, sunlight.
All of it. A type 2 masters the energy of its star, its sun,
And type 3.
commands the entire energy output of its home galaxy, billions of stars.
And we need to be clear, the scale is logarithmic. The jump between these types isn't just a step up.
It's a gargantuan leap, a monumental one. We're talking a factor of like 10 billion in energy output for each step.
So the difference between us, type 0, and a type 1 civilization is like, what's a good analogy?
It's like the difference between a single car battery and harnessing the full power of every hurricane and volcano on Earth simultaneously.
Which brings us to where we are now, type 0.
Firmly type 0, we're still getting our energy in the most primitive way possible.
Yeah.
We burn dead plants.
Oil and coal.
Right. We don't control the planet's forces. We are completely at their mercy. A hurricane comes, we run. A drought happens, we suffer.
But Kaku gives us a timeline, right, for when we might make that leap.
He does. Based on our current growth and energy use, he estimates we're about 100 to 200 years away from achieving full Type 1 status.
That sounds like a long time, but on a cosmic scale.
It's tomorrow. And it's interesting, Carl Sagan actually estimated back in the 70s that we were already at about a 0.7.
So the transition is already happening. We're in the middle of it.
We are.
So let's paint a picture. What does a type 1 civilization actually do? What kind of power are we talking about?
It is total planetary control. So, obviously you have new energy sources, fusion, much better fission, solar, wind. But the big one is geothermal.
Tapping the planet's core.
Directly.
Uh-huh.
But the real power is over nature itself. We're talking about technology that could, say, control earthquakes.
You mean prevent them?
Or at least release the pressure slowly so you never have a big one. You could neutralize volcanoes. You could manage the weather.
So you could stop a Category 5 hurricane before it even forms.
That's the idea. It's about achieving a level of environmental stability that's, necessary for long-term survival.
And Kaku says any civilization that gets to type 1 has to solve two major problems that are currently plaguing us.
Yes, the first is pollution. You have to stop destroying your own nest. The second is all the internal fighting.
Nationalism, fundamentalism.
All the tribalism that defines a type 0 civilization. To manage a whole planet, you have to have achieved some kind of ecological balance and cultural unification. You have to grow up.
And we are seeing the baby steps of this right now. Kaku points to what he calls the first type 1 technology.
The internet.
Of course.
He calls it that because it's the first truly planetary communication system we've ever had. It's the beginning of a planetary consciousness. He calls it the BrainNet.
A future where we could, communicate mentally across the globe?
Potentially, yes. But it's not just the technology. It's the cultural side, too.
Standardization.
Right. You need a common standard to run a planet. We're seeing a planetary language emerge, which is English, a planetary economy, even a sort of planetary culture through, Hollywood and mass media.
This is all part of moving away from the, as he calls it, the savagery of a type 0 world.
Exactly.
But here's the fascinating counterpoint he always brings up, the caveman principle. So technology is scaling up exponentially.
But human nature is not. It's basically a flat line.
Explain that principle. It's so critical to his whole view of the future.
The principle is simple. Our brains haven't had a major software update in about 100,000 years. We are still, deep down, hunter-gatherers.
We're wired for the tribe.
We're wired to seek social bonds, to figure out the hierarchy, to get approval from the group. The proof of the kill, as he puts it.
And this explains why so many tech predictions just fell flat. The paperless office. Everyone thought that would happen by the 90s.
We've had the tech for decades. Same with everyone working from home. But we still build these huge, centralized skyscrapers and make people commute.
Why?
Because of that hardwired need for face-to-face interaction. He calls it the campfire model.
The campfire model.
If you want to know how humans will interact in the future, just look at how they interacted around the campfire. We gathered. We debated. We gossiped.
Gossip is a big one. It's how you maintain social bonds and understand who's who in the tribe.
It's critical, and we seek out social gatherings. We need that physical or, highly realistic virtual presence to really absorb and trust information.
So even if we have holographic meetings in the future, we'll still be doing the same fundamentally human things.
Absolutely. The technology changes, but the caveman or cavewoman within us does not.
And that sets up the major conflict, doesn't it? This unchanging human core clashing with these rapidly scaling, optimized systems. This is where we get repositioned.
This is the core conflict. It's emotion versus consistency. It's a battle that, at scale, the human side just can't win.
Humans introduce chaos.
We introduce chaos, errors, emotions, contradictions. A system is built for the exact opposite. Pure, predictive consistency through calculation. And when you're managing something on a planetary scale,
A predictable system wins. It has to.
it has to. Friction isn't just an annoyance at that scale. It's a threat to survival. Think about trying to coordinate a global project today. It's a mess of negotiations and compromise.
So slow.
So slow. And that slow pace is just getting bypassed by automated infrastructure that finds the optimal path and just executes. Doesn't ask for permission.
This is why Kaku argues we don't need a better leader. We need a better structure. The architect replaces the leader.
Yes. The system just needs a brilliant architect at the beginning to set the rules, the goals, the logic. Once that foundation is solid, it runs itself. It optimizes itself. It doesn't need a charismatic personality to guide it day to day.
And this totally changes how we comply with things. Human leaders need you to believe in them.
You have to trust their judgment, their motives. It's an act of faith.
But a system, you just have to adopt it.
And if that system reliably delivers your packages on time, keeps your energy grid stable, makes your life easier, adoption is a no-brainer. It's so much easier than generating belief in a flawed human.
But I have to push back on this a little. If all the leadership shifts to the initial architects, what if their design is flawed? Or biased?
Right.
Or just plain evil?
That is the critical question.
The system would then just execute that flawed design with perfect consistency, right? You could lock in a totally unjust society permanently with no way to fight back.
It's a huge risk, and Kaku acknowledges it. But he frames it as a trade-off. It's the price you pay to survive the transition to a Type 1 civilization. The system is ruthlessly optimized.
And that optimization has consequences for our values. Let's go back to that idea. Stability replaces justice. What does that look like in practice?
Okay, imagine a massive city is facing a sudden water shortage. An autonomous system is managing resource allocation.
The human approach to justice would involve hearings, appeals, debates.
So much friction. The system instead calculates. It sees that diverting water from, say, a residential zone to a critical agricultural zone will prevent a famine. So it just does it instantly.
It prioritizes the survival of the whole city over the fairness to one neighborhood.
Exactly. The continuity and stability of the macro system are the highest values. The messy, slow human process of ethical debate, it just gets in the way.
So that's why resistance is futile. We're used to resisting a person, a government, but how do you resist a design?
You can't. If your food, your water, your communication are all run by this invisible infrastructure, you have no leverage. Kaku says you can't argue with an algorithm. There's no one to defeat.
We get repositioned from being the author of history
To just being an agent that's transformed inside of it.
This is where things get really wild. Because this whole shift is being driven by a revolution in technology that makes our current computers look like toys. Let's start with quantum computing.
Right. Kaku is adamant that Silicon Valley, as we know it, is hitting a wall. The age of silicon is ending.
Because we can't shrink transistors any smaller.
We're getting down to just a few atoms wide. The physics just stops working for classical computers, which are based on bits, a 0 or a 1.
An on-off switch.
Exactly. But quantum computing is totally different. It uses qubits.
And a qubit can be a 0 and a 1 at the same time.
That's superposition. And because of that, a quantum computer can essentially run an exponential number of calculations all at once in parallel.
Which lets them solve problems that are just impossible for even the biggest supercomputers we have today.
The time difference is staggering. Kaku uses drug discovery as an example. To simulate a complex drug molecule on a normal computer would take longer than the age of the universe.
Seriously?
Seriously. But a quantum computer could potentially do it in a few days. It completely changes how we design materials, drugs, everything.
And he's very optimistic about the timeline. He's saying maybe 5 years for some specific problems.
He is. But it's worth noting there's a lot of healthy skepticism about that. There's a huge engineering hurdle called decoherence.
Right, that's where the quantum state just collapses.
Yes, the slightest vibration or change in temperature or any noise from the environment can destroy that delicate superposition, and the qubit just becomes a normal 0-1.
So you lose the quantum magic.
You lose everything. To stop that, you have to keep these things colder than deep space, shielded in vacuum chambers. It's an immense engineering challenge. So the physics works, but the engineering is the real monster.
Okay, so if quantum computing makes intelligence abundant, the next step is making us replicable. Let's talk about the Connectome Project and Brain 2.0.
The Connectome Project is this massive global effort to map every single neural pathway in the human brain, all 100 trillion connections.
The brain's wiring diagram.
A complete diagram. And Kaku's argument is that the brain is basically just a very complex neural network.
Yeah.
If you can map it, you can copy the information on it.
So you could make a Xerox copy of a mind,
Yeah.
the memories, the personality, all of it, and store it on a disk.
The software, your consciousness, survives the wetware, your physical body. It's a path to digital immortality.
Your mind exists outside your body, pure consciousness.
A concept that he thinks advanced civilizations like a Type 2 or the Evan would have mastered long ago.
And this isn't just about living forever in a simulation. This leads directly to one of his most incredible ideas, laser porting souls across space.
This is where he uses physics to get around the brutal problems of space travel. Radiation, fuel, time.
It's slow and dangerous.
Incredibly.
Yeah.
But if your consciousness is just data, you can convert that data into a beam of light, a laser, and you can shoot it across space at the fastest speed possible.
The speed of light.
1 second to the moon, 4 years to the nearest star system. No rockets, no radiation shielding, no life support. You just arrive.
And he thinks this is how advanced aliens would travel, not in flying saucers.
Exactly. They would see our chemical rockets as, something out of the Stone Age. They'd just transmit pure information. It's the ultimate in frictionless travel.
Beyond just copying our minds, we're also learning to manipulate them. Memory, emotion. We're getting direct access.
We are. The technology is already startling. Scientists at Berkeley can take MRI scans of your brain while you're dreaming.
I've heard about this.
And they can create a rough video of what you're seeing in your dream. They are literally photographing a dream.
That's unbelievable. And what about controlling our inner states, our feelings?
Well, we have things like the God helmet, which uses magnets to stimulate the part of your brain, the left temporal lobe, that's associated with religious or spiritual feelings.
And more seriously, deep brain stimulation, or DBS.
Right. DBS uses tiny electrodes to quiet overactive parts of the brain. It's already being used to basically cure the tremors from Parkinson's disease.
And in some cases, for severe depression, right?
Yes, for chronic treatment-resistant depression. They can stimulate certain areas and provide relief that no drug or therapy could. We are directly editing mood.
But Kaku gives a really stark warning about stimulating one part of the brain in particular, the pleasure center.
The nucleus accumbens.
Uh.
This is the heart of our reward system, and this is where the danger lies for a future optimized society.
A rat experiment.
The famous experiment. You give a rat a button that stimulates its pleasure center, and it will push that button over and over.
Ignoring food, water.
It will starve itself to death while experiencing pure bliss. And Kaku warns that, while humans might be a little smarter, a fraction of our population would absolutely choose to live plugged into that machine.
Perfect, engineered happiness at the cost of reality itself.
A dark trade-off. And it connects to another controversy. The forgetful pill. The idea of erasing traumatic memories.
For PTSD, for example, the bioethicists have had a field day with this.
They have. The President's Council on Bioethics argued against it, using something called the naturalistic fallacy.
Okay, what is that?
It's the idea that what is natural is what ought to be. They argued that bad memories are a natural part of being human, and that we need them to build character and compassion.
And Kaku's response to that is?
He completely dismisses it. He says, look, disease and pain are natural too, but we try to cure them. We don't just accept them.
So why should we accept a crippling memory that's destroying someone's life?
His view is that if a memory is a defect that's preventing a person from functioning, we have a moral obligation to fix it, just like any other medical problem.
All of this, the gene editing, the mind manipulation, it feels like our technology is just screaming past our ability to have these ethical debates.
Kaku often says that bioethicists should read more science fiction, because the sci-fi writers have been wrestling with these problems for decades before the scientists even get there.
All right, let's shift to adaptation on a planetary scale. For a Type 1 civilization, becoming a multiplanetary species isn't a luxury, it's a necessity.
It's the ultimate insurance policy. Kaku always points out that 99.9% of all life on Earth has gone extinct.
The dinosaurs didn't have a space program.
And that's why they're gone. One asteroid and game over. A space program is just a basic insurance policy against extinction events, whether they're from space or, from ourselves.
But he's very clear this isn't about abandoning a dying Earth.
Not at all. He says the first job is to fix our problems here. Fix global warming, fix pollution. You have to achieve balance on your home planet first.
Colonizing Mars or the moon is about continuity, not escape.
It's about not keeping all your eggs in one basket. If a catastrophe hits one planet, the species survives on the other.
And this drive for survival is what's behind the huge shift we're seeing in space exploration, right? Away from governments.
The private sector rocket rush,
Yeah.
Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. Kaku argues that government agencies like NASA are, by their nature, too cautious.
They're bogged down by bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy, safety committees, political compromise, it's all friction. It leads to delays and huge costs.
Whereas capitalists are driven by speed and efficiency.
And profit. They can innovate in ways a government agency just can't. I mean, the idea that a private company could launch a Falcon Heavy for basically zero taxpayer dollars was unthinkable when the Outer Space Treaty was written in the 60s.
So now we need new treaties to deal with China planting a flag on the moon or a company wanting to mine an asteroid.
The whole game has changed. Kaku fully expects to see, luxury hotels and honeymoon packages on the moon within the next century.
Let's talk about the big one. Terraforming Mars. Kaku sees this not as a physics problem, but as a giant engineering project.
A massive construction project, yeah. Terraforming is just deliberately changing a planet's environment to make it more like Earth. And he points out we're already terraforming Earth right now by accident.
We just don't have a plan.
On Mars, you could have a plan. There are concrete steps you could take once you have a base there.
So what's step one?
Step one is to heat the place up.
Yeah.
You'd release methane gas, which is a powerful greenhouse gas, into the atmosphere. Then step two, you put giant solar mirrors in orbit to focus sunlight onto the polar ice caps.
To melt them.
Melt the ice, release the trapped CO2 and water vapor. Once you raise the temperature by just about 6 degrees Celsius, you can trigger a runaway greenhouse effect.
And then you bring in life.
Then you introduce genetically modified plants that are designed to thrive in a CO2-rich atmosphere. They start pumping out oxygen. You mine the ice for water and rocket fuel. It's a long process, maybe 100 years or more.
Yeah.
But the physics is all there.
Okay, let's look even further out. Beyond our solar system, what's the most efficient way to explore the entire galaxy?
Not with people. Not even with laser-ported consciousness. The most efficient way, mathematically, is with von Neumann probes.
Self-replicating robots.
Exactly. The idea is you send one single smart robot to a distant star system. It lands on a dead moon because there's no erosion and lots of raw materials like iron and nickel on the surface.
And its only job is to make copies of itself.
Right. It uses the local resources to build thousands of copies. And then those copies launch themselves to all the neighboring star systems and repeat the process.
It's an exponential expansion.
It is. A sphere of trillions of these probes could explore and analyze our entire galaxy in about 500,000 years. It's the ultimate low-energy, high-efficiency exploration method.
And Kaku has this fascinating, kind of spooky idea that they might already be here.
That they might be lying dormant on our own moon, just waiting.
Why waiting?
Why would they bother with a chaotic, savage, type sewer civilization like us? They'd wait for us to grow up, to become a stable type 1 civilization that's actually worth contacting.
And with nanotechnology, these probes could be tiny.
They could be the size of your palm,
Mm-hmm.
or smaller. They could be everywhere, totally invisible to us. Advanced aliens don't need clunky spaceships. They use invisible, efficient systems.
Which brings us to the final, ultimate threat. The end of everything. The death of the universe itself.
This is what Kaku calls the ultimate death warrant, written into the laws of physics. The data we have now, from supernovae, shows that the universe isn't just expanding.
It's accelerating.
It's accelerating. And that leads to one conclusion, the big chill, or the big freeze.
Why a freeze?
Because if the expansion speeds up, eventually all the galaxies will fly away from each other so fast that we can't see them anymore. The universe will become cold, dark, and empty. Stars burn out. Black holes evaporate. The temperature drops to near absolute zero.
And no life, no matter how advanced, can survive that.
Not in a universe with no energy gradients. So if the universe is going to die, the only option, Kaku says, is to leave.
Leave the universe.
Leave the universe. That's the final act for a civilization that's, type 3 or beyond. And to do that, you need the ultimate form of energy.
Planck energy.
Planck energy. It's a quadrillion times more powerful than the Large Hadron Collider. It's the energy at which space itself becomes unstable.
It starts to boil.
It boils and creates tiny bubbles, which could be gateways to new universes. The only places this energy naturally exists are at the center of a black hole and the instant of the Big Bang.
But a super advanced civilization might be able to create it.
That's the theory. A Type 2 or Type 3 civilization might be able to harness enough energy to do two things. One, create stable wormholes to use as shortcuts across our own universe.
And two,
And two, for a civilization far, far beyond ours, maybe they could harness enough to rip a hole in reality and escape into a younger, more hospitable universe in the multiverse. The final adaptation.
So we've gone from the human campfire to escaping the death of the universe. And the central theme is always the same. Humanity doesn't end. It gets repositioned.
We go from being the author of history to being an agent transformed inside of it. The whole story is a shift away from control and towards adaptation.
And Kaku's point is that the biggest challenges aren't really about new physics. He thinks we have a pretty good handle on the basic laws.
The challenges are engineering, massive planetary scale engineering, and the societal challenge of what it means to consciously integrate into these systems.
So as we face this future, he lays out a future of optimized systems where stability replaces justice and where the most important decisions are made by invisible algorithms. The final question he leaves us with is, what is our purpose in that?
What does meaningful collaboration even look like when leadership, maybe the highest form of human expression, has been deemed inefficient and ultimately optional?
That's the thought we have to grapple with. Welcome to the post-human era.